Good evening. Welcome to this forum with the candidates who are on the November 6th ballot for the Clawson Mayor and City Council. This forum is sponsored by the League of Women Voters, Oakland area, along with the Clawson Chamber of Commerce, under their ground rules for forums. I am Judy Bateman, a member of the League of Women Voters. I am not a resident of this city. The League of Women Voters is a nonpartisan national organization that does not endorse or support any candidate or political party. The views expressed in this forum are those of the candidates, and the League takes no responsibility. As moderator, I reserve the right to enforce the forum ground rules as set by the League. Candidates should address only their views regarding the office that they are seeking and not refer to or interrupt their opponents. There are 2 candidates on the ballot for mayor for a 2-year term and 4 candidates for Clawson City Council. You vote for 2 candidates for 4-year terms. The candidates are for mayor, Penny Luebs and Kurt Hack. Not in alphabetical order. And for City Council, Howie Airriess, Samuel Moore, and Tim Simon. Also on the ballot is Matthew Affeld, who is not with us tonight. He has sent me a statement which I will read after the candidates have given their opening statements. We will begin the forum with a 2-minute opening statement by each candidate in alphabetical order. The 2 mayoral candidates first, and then the council candidates. We will then have written questions from the audience, and candidates will be given 1 minute to answer these questions unless time is extended. Following the questions, candidates will have a 1 minute for closing statements in reverse alphabetical order. Again, the mayoral candidates will go first. Our timer, Joan Sterling, will signal when the candidates have 1 minute, 30 seconds, 15 seconds, and then stop. We ask that the candidates stick to the time limits. Ushers are available, Tara's right there, to pass out paper and pencil and to collect your questions. So if you wanted to collect it, just raise your hand. We ask the audience to turn off all pagers and cell phones. We also ask the audience to remain silent during the forum and refrain from any reaction for or against any candidate or statements made by the candidates. We will begin opening statements with Mr. Hack.
Thank you. Well, good evening, everyone. I'd first like to take a moment to thank the League as well as the Chamber of Commerce for sponsoring this important event. Your participation in the education process of our citizens is greatly appreciated by all of us. As I mentioned in this year's State of the City address, progress has become Clawson's trademark. We have been successful in starting the largest public works project in over 50 years, preserving our property values, safety, and quality of life for our residents and commercial citizens. We have enacted conservative fiscal policies that not only stand up to the scrutiny of third-party auditors, but also reward our constituency with some of the highest credit and bond ratings available to a city. All of this while offering the highest level of city services in the region. While we can celebrate these successes, lest we forget that our quest is just beginning. The time is now to maintain the momentum that we have built. The key areas that we must focus our attention to are rebuilding our infrastructure, business development, and fiscal policy. To go back to the first, we have made significant progress. Our infrastructure improvements, improvements. However, much work is to come. As your mayor, I will continue to demand quality work and professional project management for the bond dollars that Clawson citizens have entrusted to this city. The next is business development. The residents of Clawson deserve a first-class downtown that they can take pride in. I am committed to further these efforts to reduce the bureaucracy involved with opening a business, along with common sense zoning that not only fill vacancies but ensure long-term viability. The last of these is fiscal policy. My fiscal policy of budgeting for outcomes ensures that priority is given to the success of strategic goals rather than simply copying last year's budget. I ask you tonight for your vote for Mayor of Clawson. I believe that I can provide the leadership required for perpetuating our success, represent us to our municipal neighbors and other governmental bodies, and also have a proven fiscal and business history and can create a symbiotic relationship with our city departments and boards. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Luebs.
Thank you. I would like to thank the Women's League of Voters tonight and everyone who is here for attending and offering their questions up for us to answer. I want to tell you a little bit about myself. I have a master's degree in social work from Eastern Michigan University. I'm employed at Easter Seals of Michigan as a supervisor facilitating therapy for children and families. I also work at Common Ground Sanctuary as a psychiatric screener assessing for hospitalization. I've been a resident of Clawson for 27 years. I have 5 children. My youngest child, Jim, is in 2nd grade at Sham School, and my adult children are graduates of Clawson High School. I was elected to Clawson City Council in November 2003 with prior city involvement on the Zoning Board of Appeals. I'm presently chairperson of Clawson Youth Assistance and a member of the Friends of the Library and the 4th of July Committee. 4 years ago, I ran for council in Clawson to keep our police department, to keep our library open, change city administration, improve communication between residents, businesses, and council, ensure city funds are spent wisely, and I'm proud to say that these goals were accomplished. Upcoming issues to address for the next 4 years are communication, economics, and progress in the city. My goals are to guard against surplus spending, and that as a city we live within our budget. The second goal is to improve communication and encourage citizen participation in the decision-making process. Some of the hot button items I've been hearing about are the on-street parking and lack of traffic signals on 14 miles, so we do welcome your questions. The third goal is to promote a business-friendly atmosphere for those looking to invest in our community. Clawson is a great place to live. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Airriess.
To begin with, I'd like to thank the League of Women Voters. I've lived in Clawson for some 50-some years now, and I'm very proud of our city. I love Clawson. I'd like to share my knowledge that I've gained throughout the many years of volunteering in the various areas. I look forward to future growth of our town, and I want to be a part of it. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Moore.
I'd also like to thank the League of Women Voters and say good evening. My name is Sam Moore, and I'm seeking a seat on the Clawson City Council. I graduated from Clawson High School in 1959, and I am a 27-year resident of Clawson. I retired in 2005 after 40 years with my company. The last 30 years, I was a member of management. Since retiring, I have worked on the Citizens Committee for the Clawson Master Plan, the Committee to pass the road bond, the Downtown Development Authority, and the Clawson Planning Commission. I would like now to take the next step and join the City Council. As a member of the Clawson Council, it is important to be fiscally responsible. This means making the best decisions for the City of Clawson while keeping the budget in mind. There are times when you have to cut back or reduce your spending while maintaining services and infrastructure. This is the balancing act that we all face. I can and will make those hard decisions. Accomplishing the city's master plan may be hampered if a lack of alignment exists between the components within the city that are responsible for bringing this vision to life. I will work closely with residents, businesses, the DDA, the Chamber, and City Administration to improve this communication. The most important thing I would like to accomplish is a quality of life for our city that is second to none. This achievement will be reached through strong leadership and cooperation with my fellow council members. I believe my background has given me the leadership skills that will make me an asset to this council and to this city. Thank you.
Mr. Simon.
Good evening. Again, I'd like to thank the Women's League of Voters for putting on this event tonight and for everyone that showed up tonight, for our citizens. My name is Tim Simon. This is the 5th time that I've run up here, and I'd just like to say that I'm involved with the process because I think it's only fair to give our citizens a choice, and I feel that everyone should get involved somehow or another in their city. I have sat on the compensation board as chairman. I have been in the Lions Club. I've been on the youth assistance. I've also worked as a mentor for Clawson and Oakland County. I am currently working in a private school, teaching a life skills class. I'm also a chaplain for hospice and community service. I love the city, and I love being involved in the city. And I'll do my best as a council member if I'm elected this year. And like I said, it's not the first time I've run, so I'm not a complete stranger up here. It's a little uncomfortable still, but I'll do my very best as a council person, and that's about it. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm going to read Mr. Affeld's statement. I tried it this afternoon, and it's long, so I'm going to read fast and try to get it all in. Okay, Joan, are you ready? Okay. This is Mr. Matthew Affeld. Let me start first by apologizing for being unable to attend today's candidate forum. Unfortunately, I had a prior work obligation, and as I am in the public safety field, we work odd schedules. Hopefully, you will all understand that my absence is due to my devotion to my work. If elected, I will serve Clawson with the same work ethic and diligence that I give my employment. Many of you received my pamphlet over the weekend, and that provides a small look into who I am and what I stand for. As a police officer and firefighter, I stand behind our police and fire department. I am against disbanding our police department for many reasons. I understand that many of you have the same fear I do if they are disbanded, and I can tell you they are well justified. Our department is outstanding at what they do. They will not receive the same level of we will not receive the same level of service if we contract our police services out. To assist in keeping our police, we need to look at enacting an ordinance to recuperate the costs spent in prosecuting drunk drivers. Many communities already have these ordinances, and it helps offset our prosecution costs. We also need to look at a nuisance alarm ordinance. This ordinance will help to reduce the amount of false alarm runs our officers currently respond to. Another topic is continuing to bring new business to Clawson. We need to continue to market ourselves and recruit new businesses to come to Clawson. We are on the verge of a rebirth in the city of Clawson, and we must continue to strive to complete the process. Then on-street parking on Main Street is extremely beneficial to the business district. However, it also has a few downsides. Traffic congestion has gotten worse at 12 Mile and Main Street. Drivers have begun to use the residential streets to avoid this area and now pose a hazard to the residents as they speed through our neighborhoods. A better option may have been to leave all of the lanes of traffic open and use the city's easement for parking and reduce the speed limit to 25 miles per hour. Traffic would have still been able to flow properly, and parking would have increased as well. Also, if elected, I would like to bring back brush pickup. Many people have been frustrated with the loss of curbside brush pickup. It has basically prevented a large majority of residents from being able to trim their own trees and shrubbery. There is no reason why we cannot provide brush pickup twice a month with the amount of taxes we pay. And he's sorry he can't come. That's about it. Okay, we will now begin the questions. It's time for the candidates to answer questions from the audience, which are being screened for duplication by Laura Gagola. We will begin with the first candidate and then the second in rotation so that everyone goes first. And we ask the audience to submit your questions to Tara. Unless otherwise indicated, the candidates will have 1 minute to answer. All right, the first question is the parking question, and there's a lot of them here. So I'm going to give you 2 minutes if you care to use it. And I'm going to ask, put out several of these questions for you to think about answering, okay? Could the candidates please comment on any ideas or solutions concerning traffic congestion and major backups on southbound Main Street north of 14 Mile during rush hour periods, especially 3 p.m. to 7 p.m.? Since the on-street parking has started, it is next to impossible to turn off of Broadacre onto Main Street for local residents. The traffic backs up to City Hall from 14 Mile Road. What do you think about on-street parking overnight, one side of the street? Do you think that the on-street parking is worth all the traffic congestion? What other forms of parking are you willing to look at? Parking structure, example. Okay, so that's about what the citizens are concerned about, those things. So, Mr. Hack, you can have 2 minutes if you wish to use it.
Okay, thank you. Obviously, we started this as a pilot project, this being the parking on South Main, and this is the first part of a 4-phase project. To comment on that is basically the way it is right now is admittedly a bit haphazard, and unfortunately that was the only way we could really go about doing that. The second phase of that will begin to make it a little bit more sense as we have parking on the north side of Main commensurate with the south side. That will also start to ease that traffic burden that seems to collect right there as you're crossing into the south side of the street. Another part of that is obviously the issues we have with some people trying to get out of their streets onto Main Street, whether it be northbound or southbound on South Main there. And again, it's a pilot project. We know that there are going to be some issues. Unfortunately, we don't know what those issues are until we actually put it in place. We're already starting to make modifications to that plan and will continue to do so. The city will continue to do so. The second part of that, as far as why couldn't we have used the easement? Well, the reason for that is that we wanted to put the road on a diet. We purposely want to limit the amount of traffic that's going through there, and the only way you can do that is to narrow down the perception of how wide that street is. The narrower it is, the slower traffic goes. And the reason for that is it's a pedestrian safety issue. If we're going to have more foot traffic down there, 35-mile-an-hour traffic is obviously not conducive to that. Anyone who sits out in Black Lotus or Royal Kubo or anything like that realizes how distracting that traffic can be. So the intent there is to slow the traffic down. As that evolves over time, we expect, and we have seen in other cities, that traffic situation will eventually resolve itself, much like it has in Birmingham and parts of Royal Oak. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Luebs.
On-street parking was designed to attract businesses and make our downtown a pedestrian-friendly area. The parking stripes cost $70 to make this happen. It's a pilot program. When we change this, other problems occur. I am just like everybody else out there. I prefer to take side streets now versus traveling on Main because it is congested and it is frustrating. On the other hand, because it is a pilot project, I'd like to see what happens. We are monitoring this. The monitoring is ongoing. We are changing some of the parking spaces, especially by Nakota and other streets, because it is difficult to see to turn in and out. After the decision council made was to determine the value of on-street parking after 1 year. The solutions for it might be to have parking on one side of the road and open up additional lanes. There's brainstorming in process to determine what's going to happen with on-street parking, but I, along with the rest of you, are going to be the first to admit that it is extremely frustrating right now. Walking door to door, I've heard many of those comments. People are either driving on Rochester and avoiding Clawson altogether or going down the side streets. So let's see what happens. Now, next year, we're also going to start on-street parking north of 14 Mile. That may make some difference, but I think we need to be open to suggestions and sit down and review the parking again. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Airriess.
As far as the southbound end of Main Street there, I'm very familiar with that area. I can't get out in the morning either. I do believe that if they cut that down, probably up to the A&W for the parking there, that might help a little bit. Even though we're going to have a bottle jam no matter what we do. We're going to have the parking here. There's no way about it. Like everyone says, it is a pilot program, so we just kind of watch it. Once they start northbound Main Street construction next year, it's going to be worse. So I don't know what else to tell you. As far as overnight parking, I like the 2 to 6. It's been like that. Our police department likes that. The fire department likes it. They're the two main factors here. As far as parking structures, we almost have to try and bring a private individual in to put up a parking structure on the city lot. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Moore.
Well, first I guess I would just reiterate it is a pilot program. However, I think that this was originally a design that came out of the Downtown Development Authority to bring back on-street parking for the businesses. The businesses really wanted that. They feel that pulls in customers who have close proximity parking. It was designed also to calm traffic, slow the traffic down, narrow the roads down. Those are all parts of why this pilot program is ongoing. I do believe that you will see a difference. A part of the problem that you have right now is, well, I'd say it's two problems really. Number one was it was done very quickly. That was unfortunate. People were not allowed to get the word out fast enough to let you know that that was going to happen. The second thing is the way that it's marked and it's being run. If there is nobody parked in the parking spots as you're driving down, the tendency is someone coming alongside of you will whip over into those parking lanes, and you trying to be the good citizen in the right lane, when you go to make a turn, you come very close sometimes to some fender benders. We understand that. I know there have been a lot of emails into the city manager on this issue. He is taking them and looking very closely at the complaints that are happening. I think the other part of this is that some of the parking spots down on the very south end of town may be reduced because I don't think anybody uses them. So it is a pilot, and we are looking at it, but the construction, I think, when we're all said and done, will make a lot of difference in how they look. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Simon.
As Mr. Moore just touched on, it kind of came fast and furious on us, and without pointing any fingers, I pretty much, looking at the situation and the way it was presented to us, the people really didn't have that much of a choice. It just kind of happened. And I think that was part of a problem, hindsight. As far as the on-street parking goes, though, for the last 10 years now, from the beginning that I first ran, I've been knocking on the door of on-street parking. So I'm just as guilty as any, if you want to point your finger at anybody. I kind of feel like I almost started it here. But I feel also that our businesses need parking. As our residents go, we need business. We need a strong tax base here. And without that, our taxes keep going up. And you look at Troy, they've got a lot of business. They've got a lot of money coming in. We need more business. And I think the city's on its way. It's not exactly the way that I would have done the parking here. I would feel that like an angle parking would probably have been better and go into the curb some. We would have got more cars in. We would have safeguarded our citizens more from getting out right into traffic there. And again, you could have put more cars, and of course meters is more revenue. Someone has to go around and take money from those meters. I understand that's another job, but still, it is a revenue. And so, and then again, after hour parking. As a retired policeman, I think it's essential for our city to have no after-hour parking because it cuts down on our crime rate.
Thank you. A couple more parking questions, so we'll just get to it. Ms. Luebs, this is just, I think 1 minute. 1 minute will be fine. Why couldn't most businesses have rear access? Why can't people walk around from the rear? And are we going to lose state and federal funds if we leave parking on Main Street and 14 Mile?
We're evaluating all aspects of the parking, particularly beginning with the northeast parking lot that the city is looking at redoing the pavement and the sewers underneath there. For rear access for businesses, some businesses have the rear access to go in there. Again, the on-street parking is designed to attract businesses into the area to fill the empty buildings. And I have heard many comments that our city parking lots on the four corners have been empty, so why do we need on-street parking? Again, it's a pilot project to see what businesses we're going to attract in this area. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Airriess?
Well, most of the businesses do have rear access. There's a couple right there on 14 and Main that do not. But again, the on-street parking there does benefit the businesses, and it makes it a lot easier for the people, our residents, to get in and out of a place, in there, jump in, get out. As far as everything else, didn't have any privy to anything else what the first question was.
Mr. Moore?
I think, number one, I don't believe that we would lose any monies if we decided to remove on-street parking. That was a Clawson initiative, so I think I'm correct in that and saying that I don't think we would lose any. With regards to, and most, I would say probably most of the stores and shops have rear accesses, but I got to tell you, I went to the barbershop, Trim Barbershop, the other day at 1:45, and I had to wait for an individual to come out of his parking spot in order for me to park. They are full. So parking is a major problem, whether it's in the parking lot or on the streets. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Simon?
I don't see that it would take anything away from us as far as the government goes. A lot of times I think the government tries to add that little piece in there to scare us into not going places that forward. But as far as the actual street parking and going in through the rear, there's just not enough parking in our town. And we need more parking. Like Mr. Airriess said just earlier, it would be nice if we had an individual that came in and gave us a parking structure. That would be a real benefit. I believe that that we're on our way. I believe we're on our way as far as really building our tax base and our businesses. I think that we have a real good chance of having an individual like that if we keep going the way we're going.
Thank you. Mr. Hack.
The DDA, as well as the city, has had several parking studies done, and one of the key things that keeps coming back is that in order to attract business, you must have on-street parking. It doesn't work the other way around. A lot of people say, well, we don't have the business to support the parking. Well, you're not going to have the business until you have the parking there. Nobody's going to move there and not have a place where their customers can easily pull in, whether it be rear access or front access, and go in and use that store. In regards to more parking and such down there, again, this is the first part of a 4-phase project. Second phase is North Main, again, to support the business there. Third phase is to turn those into angle parking so we can increase the amount that we have there. What we're trying to do is these individual steps to do them as cheaply as possible, because if we have to make modifications, we don't want to have to tear out infrastructure in order to do it. Thank you.
Thank you. We're going to start this with Mr. Airriess. What are you willing to do to help control costs of water from the city of Detroit? Do you think there should be more control by the suburban governments?
I'd like to say we could control it, but it's Detroit. What are you going to do? You know, we're at their mercy. What I would do is talk with the city manager and try to figure some way feasibly that we can lower these water rates, because they are ridiculous. And I think most of our costs are in the sewage. I believe the sewage is the highest, more so than the water. It doesn't make sense, but that's the way it is. And maybe we need to go back to the old water tower. I don't know.
Thank you. Mr. Moore.
I think that, you know, the water rates are high. I understand from our city attorney that there has been a lot of discussion with the city of Detroit and that to come up with solutions to try to lower our water rates, and that doesn't sound like that's going to happen. There have been a couple of suggestions put out there. One of them is trying to see whether or not it's possible to use 2 meters on your home, one for watering your lawn and that type of thing, and then the other for your regular house use. However, Clawson has all sanitary sewers, so I'm not sure that that's going to work either. But I think what you have to do is go back and just keep trying to hammer away at what this problem really is and seeing if we can come up with a solution.
Thank you. Mr. Simon.
I think that for about the next year that we shouldn't pay our water bill, and that would send them a message. And that's not going to work, of course. But what I do feel is that it's a complex question, and it's going to have to be something that's really looked at and worked on through our city manager and through our council people.
Thank you. Mr. Hack.
As it's alluded to, it is a complex question. It's more than just the rate of water that we're paying. We have a combined sewer system, meaning sanitary and rainwater as well, go into that system, and part of that is the cost. But the other big component of that is the debt service. As many of you remember, we had the 12 Towns drain issue a long time ago, and we're still paying for that. If you look at your bill, the next bill you're getting is going to be broken out to see those separate components. A lot of that is debt service, and it's unfortunate, and I agree, the water bills are high. However, when we go through and do our surveys of the cities around us, they are commensurate with those around us. Doesn't make it right, but that is what it is. As far as cooperative agreements and such, we are currently a member of SOC with the South Oakland County Water Authority, which purchases water for us from the city of Detroit. We can start leaning on them a little bit along with other cities to see what can be done, but really we are at the mercy of the city of Detroit right now. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Luebs.
We are charged by Detroit a water and sewer charge based on the total water we buy from them. We generally pass that charge through to you, our customers. What we're also trying to do with the water rates is build a fund up to replace the sewers that have been underground for so many years before they fail. So that part is being proactive. That was the recent charge to your water bill. most recently that will become effective December 1st, when your water rates will go up to about $75 per 1,000 cubic feet. We have an organization called SACRA, as Kurt mentioned, that goes to bat for us to see what we can do. Other than that, working with Detroit individually, there's not much choice in that. And our city attorney did make a decision that having two separate faucets weren't realistic. Thank you.
Thank you. We're going to start with Mr. Moore. What kind of new businesses would you like to see downtown? What plans do you have to encourage small businesses in Clawson?
Well, the kind of businesses I'd like to see downtown are basically destination type businesses, specialty shops, and basic shops as well. Basic being, I'd like to see a grocery store of some type, and I know we have an Aldi's going in, and I've heard some pros and cons on Aldi's, but they are going in. Would like to see a bakery, you know, specialty shops that are kind of unique, because if you just read in the paper over the weekend, you see that Troy is going to expand big time. And there's no way you can compete with somebody like a Troy or Detroit or even Birmingham. So it's those little specialty shops and the basic needs type shops, I guess I would call them, that I'd like to see.
Thank you. Mr. Simon.
Clawson is more than just a couple new bars. It's the start. It's not my idea of the start, but I feel that, you know, I feel that if we had an attraction like a Starbucks here, or like Mr. Moore just said, small businesses, you know, we are sitting on a gold mine here. Even though our economy is bad, it's going to get better, folks. What we need to look at is the fact that we are in between Troy and Royal Oak, and all the spillage from Royal Oak coming down here just to kind of get away from the hustle and bustle and come into a nice small town with good business. It's important to take care of our businesses. It's important to keep in touch with our businesses and know what a lot of them work many hours a day here, and yet they feel like that they're not a part of this community. I know that because they told me so.
Thank you. Mr. Hack.
The key thing here is creating the framework for businesses to come into this city. I'd love nothing more than to snap my fingers tomorrow and have every single vacancy filled downtown. Unfortunately, it doesn't work that way. We have to entice business. We have to sell Clawson to potential businesses to come in, and we do that by creating things like on-street parking, changing our zoning to be a little bit less bureaucratic and more conducive to the kinds of business we want. As far as the kinds of businesses, certainly family-friendly is what we're looking for. We don't want a whole town full of bars. We don't want to, everybody talks about, we don't want to be the next Royal Oak. That's not what we're going for. But I'd love to be able to go down there with my kids, take them to a toy shop, take them to the magic shop, go grab a nice family meal, whatever the case may be. I'd love to see more things like that. When people talk about Clawson, or when I talk about Clawson, one of the biggest things I say is we got the coolest stuff. We just got it spread all over the place. We need more of that. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Luebs.
I would absolutely love to see a children's museum on the old Gailey property on 14 Mile. It's that open green space there. I'd love to see a fruit and vegetable store, a clothing store, a Trader Joe's store. I have in the past called Old Navy. I've called the Gap. They are not interested in this area at this time. I'd love to see, I'd love to entice a toy and doll hospital out of Berkeley to come over here. That would be wonderful. Regarding a children's museum, it's a grassroots effort. Wayne State isn't interested in sponsoring that, nor the DIA, so that starts from us. We need donations to build the building and donations to put the ingredients inside a children's museum. So that's up to us as a community, but that is one of my number one dreams.
Thank you. Mr. Airriess.
Thank you. Number one, we've got to be a little bit more business friendly. We are getting a little bit better doing that. We have the parking is a major issue. If we get that under control right now, I think we're going to draw in our specialty shops, Tractor Supplies, whatever's got to happen. And I will do all I can to bring in business here. As you know about the car show we put on for the Lions Club, we bring in like 8,000 people. The reason that was to help the people on the south end of town as well as bring more business into town. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Simon, we'll start with you. As a leader, how would you encourage an atmosphere of teamwork among council and residents? Will you allow residents to speak on agenda items before a vote?
One of the issues that concerns me right now, and I'm not up here to bash anybody, okay? This is the present administration that's here now. When it comes to our council members and our mayor, I don't want to see people all on the same page. I want to see people with different opinions, and I want to see people that are not voting the same. I think that's what's essential as far as standing there as an individual and giving your thoughts. As far as being there as a citizen, I think that it sends a bad message when we give our citizens 2 minutes at a public discussion time. Every city around us has a 5-minute limit, and it's very rarely enforced. I don't like getting up to that podium with somebody tapping their watch. It's hard enough to stand in front of that camera as a citizen.
Thank you. Mr. Hack.
I would have no issue if I was running the meeting with having public comment on individual line items on the agenda. In regards to the time limits, 2 minutes, I would agree, is a bit tight, and 5 minutes would be more appropriate, so I'd have no issue with that as well. The only issue I would see is that we still retain some form of decorum as part of the meeting. And it's not to shut anybody down or anything like that, but you have to keep the meeting going. Otherwise, we kind of degenerate into this issue of he said, she said, or a yelling match, and I certainly would not want to go into that. But certainly, I've got no issue opening the floor up to public comment on individual line items before they're voted upon. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Luebs?
When I was first elected to council 4 years ago, I did travel to other cities' council meetings to see how their council meetings were handled. And I was impressed that many other cities do allow public comment following each agenda item before a vote so that your opinion is taken into consideration. That is something I would like to implement again. I also want you to know that we have an informal meeting with council, the first meeting before each council meeting with coffee and cookies that's open, and that's an informal way for each one of you to talk to any council member. I'd like to see more of that. I'd like to see open houses in the city. I'd like to see, I know our city manager has an open door policy, but maybe scheduling one particular hour a month where he's not in a meeting and that you would know he would be available to talk to would be another option for information, but thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Airriess?
Well, I believe the council and mayor should be, whole council, we should all work together as teamwork. I mean, everyone has their own disagreement with things, but I can remember with Ma was mayor and that a lot of times things were discussed way ahead of time before the council meeting so they wouldn't have to ask questions that didn't need to be asked, okay? As far as the 5-minute, I have no problem with a 5-minute rule here as long as it's not the same people all the time that do nothing but complain. I'd like to see the council that come up here, have people, the residents come up here and say, hey, that was a great job. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Moore?
Well, again, I think I have to repeat as far as the 5-minute rule, I would not have a problem with that. I think it's good to get residents' input into things that are going on with the council. My background, after 40 years, is really in teamwork. That's how I had to work in a government contractor type of operation. And so teamwork is not an issue for me at all. I think that's the right way to do it. The more opinions you have on something before you make your final decision, the more input you have, the more diversity you have, the better off the decision will be for the city. Thank you.
Thank you. We're going to start the next question with Mr. Hack. Since you would be working closely with the DDA, how familiar are you with the DDA, Downtown Development Authority, and what it is trying to implement in the next few years?
I'm very familiar with what's going on in the DDA. I believe I've attended the last 5 meetings, as well as mediated sessions between the DDA and the City Council in the past as well. So I guess in short, I'm very familiar with what's going on and what their short-term goals are. I know that there's some discussion right now as far as what their long-term work plan is, and I know that is something that is in flux. So to say I know what that is right now, I don't think anybody does. But the short-term plans, yes, I am aware of. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Luebs?
I think the last two questions tie in together because the Council and DDA have had joint meetings to facilitate communication between the two groups. In the recent past, what's happened is the DDA provides a packet to Council about what they're doing. Otherwise, it's up to us as individuals to ask questions and become involved. I have been to DDA meetings in the past. DDA meetings, because they have so much information to pack into one meeting per month, are lengthy, and it's a lot of information. And I think we need to increase that communication process also. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Airriess?
Well, I'd like to see the DDA have a couple meetings a month, personally. That way they don't have such a long agenda. And I'd like to find out a little bit more what is going on. Again, I'm not privy to get the council material from the DDA, so I'll leave it at that.
Mr. Moore?
Well, I'm pretty familiar with the DDA since I was a member of the DDA board. I've worked with them. I've attended their meetings since I have moved on, so that I keep abreast of what they're doing, because I think it's important. They are the visionaries, if you will, for Clawson. That's kind of their job, really, when you think about it, is to sort of draw up what should Clawson look like in the future. And it's very important, and part of, if you remember my opening statement, it was there is an alignment that I think needs to happen. And it sort of draws from this DDA. They're a part of that alignment. They need to be aligned with the city, with the chamber, with residents, with businesses, so that their vision really reflects what it is we as a community want. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Simon?
I haven't always been a fan of the DDA, and I am pleasantly surprised that I think that we are moving ahead and that they have done a good job. And I think it's essential that as council people and as our mayor, that we are in line with them. I haven't been to that many meetings. However, if elected, I plan on really getting involved.
Thank you. We'll start with Ms. Luebs. This is a budget question. If faced with making budget cuts, would you consider any privatizing? If so, what would you consider? How do you plan to keep up city services without tax increases?
Our city budget is about $7 million a year. We presently have a contingency or backup budget, extra money of about $34,000. We have a surplus or a savings plan of almost $700,000. What we have right now is 8.4% of our budget. Our goal has been to have 10% of our budget in an undesignated fund balance or savings plan. This will help us to maintain our budget and in capital purchases. So in the next year, I don't see any budget cuts coming along because we have money in our budget. Our budget's in the red. We're in good shape. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Airriess?
Number one, the budgets, again, I would look at that. You can see the numbers. If on council, people see the numbers a lot better. As far as the budget cuts, and whatever has to be cut will be cut except city services. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Moore?
Well, there's a couple of things with budgets. Number one, I don't throw anything out the door, so everything is open to review. Secondly, there's 4 questions you really need to ask yourself as you're going through your business. And one of them is, what are you doing? Why are you doing it? Do you need to continue it? And is there any alternatives to that? So when I approach budget questions, and this would be the same for the city, when you're approaching the budget and you're looking at your budget numbers, those are the questions you ask of the facilities and the things that you are doing. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Simon?
When it comes to privatizing, I'm totally against privatizing. Have been from the first time I ran. We talked about getting rid of our city workers. One of the first times I ran, one of the times we talked about getting rid of our police department. And the identity of the city is on the side of our police cars. And you bring in somebody else and that identity is lost. As far as privatizing goes, if you do your job here, you got a job. I don't believe in giving people severance pays. I don't believe in giving people what they don't deserve. You do a good job, you've got a job, and you've got pride here. I don't like seeing people walking on needles and pins. I want to see people that are enjoying their work. And if it boils down to, if you do your job, you got a job.
Thank you. Mr. Hack.
This is obviously a hot button as far as privatization goes in the city for the obvious reasons. And one of the areas that I've looked at over time is that it's not the silver bullet it's made out to be. A lot of people make the cry that privatization will save this or save that. Well, it doesn't all the time. There are certain cases where it does. And it's usually those services that aren't in direct contact with the customer, which would be the residents here. So we already do a lot of contracting. We contract out water main breaks. We contract out tree service. We contract out a lot of these things. I'm not willing to just say privatization is bad. However, let's take a look at the core functions of each of the departments. And this comes back to what are you trying to deliver and how do you best deliver it? Is it through privatization? Is it through doing it in-house? Or is it through a cooperative agreement with the cities around us, which I think is an area we need to further expand, because it's not just us here. We have to be aware of the fiscal issues of those cities around us because of their impact. They impact directly upon us as well. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Airriess, let's start with you. Do you have any ideas to increase cooperation with neighboring cities to benefit our growth and resources?
That might be a little tough one there. I think we're pretty much self-contained here, other than the way the police department's set up now. It's a fine object the way we got it. And unless something pops up that's going to really look good for our city, there's no way. We'll just keep it the way it is.
Thank you. Mr. Moore.
Well, again, I think this question really dovetails right back into the previous question, and that is, what are you doing? Why are you doing it? Do you need to continue it? And are there alternatives? And you know, I don't think you ever say never. You certainly look at other communities and see what they're doing. And as a matter of fact, Granholm encourages cities trying to get together and reducing some of their costs by things. So, you know, you look at it. I'm not a real hot fan of it, but you certainly, I wouldn't say you don't look at it.
Thank you. Mr. Simon.
I never want to say that's the way the other cities are doing it. I want them to say that's the way Clawson is doing it. We need to be in leadership. We're a small town, but there's no reason that we can't be a shining small town. When it comes to working with our neighbors, though, if everyone looks back just on the sign issue, I believe it was Troy that offered to put a substantial amount of money into our effort to fight the sign issue. And so we need to keep open doors, open communication. Like many have said, we've already got an open door with our police department in Troy. That's just one issue. We need to just keep as much of an open door as possible. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Hack.
I think that cooperative agreements are something that we really do need to expand upon. As was noted, Jennifer Granholm has made it obviously very clear to us that they want consolidation within the inner ring suburbs. And we've started down that path. We have dispatch. We handle it with a lot of our motor pool. Parks and Rec, some of our programs are handled out of Madison Heights or Troy, and so on and so forth. However, there are other opportunities there. Can we take over Troy's motor pool? Obviously not. There's no way that we could be consolidate that into ourselves. However, a key thing to look at is there are niche markets there that we can take. Maybe we can't handle all the vehicles that Troy has, but I bet we can take care of their lawnmowers. And perhaps that's an area we need to start to look at. Maybe we need to look at Birmingham. Maybe they have plows that we can take care of, or they can become specialties or specialists in certain areas. I think if we try to progress forward as a whole, as an entire group of cities, we're going to be much better off down the road, especially with seeing what's coming down from Lansing. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Luebs.
We have cooperated with our neighbors as evidenced by the dispatch and animal control going to Troy. That's a cost of about $203,000 per year. We do purchase equipment together with other cities to get a lower rate. We have a fire department agreement. We do coordinate between Troy and Madison Heights with the Parks and Rec. So common sense and a balanced budget in the past have dictated that we do cooperate with our neighbors. And I don't think we can rule anything out. I am not interested in outsourcing our police department or other employees. We've outsourced our payroll. We have looked at a lot of those things, which has continued to bring our budget back up into the black. I don't know where else we can go, but let's see where our growth takes us.
Thank you. We're going to start with Mr. Moore. Are you in favor of closing the library?
No.
Thank you. Mr. Simon?
Absolutely not. I made that mistake once already. And I think it was a mixed words. I said that regardless of where in this town, our library would be somewhere. And no, it's important that we have our library. It's important. There's citizens, including myself and my children, that use it on a regular basis.
Thank you. Mr. Hack?
Let me emphatically say no, absolutely not, never. Okay. This is another area I seemed to get tripped up on a few years ago, and people seem to think I was out to get the library. That's never been the case. What I would like to see, though, again, working with the communities around us, can we offer the same services Troy or Royal Oak does? No, absolutely not. Can we offer that niche level of service or child programs or things like that? Things that we do very well? Absolutely. These are areas that we need to expand upon, because even though we may not have the biggest library, I want the best library in the services we offer. Thank you.
Ms. Luebs?
I absolutely love the library. I think our city needs a library as part of our cultural attractions. Our library costs about $480,000 a year. If we did not have a library in a city, to use a neighboring library in Troy or Royal Oak, you would have to pay individually about $175 a person. I think our library provides valuable programs. Our library is small, but that's the wonderful character trait about it. If there's not an item in the library for you there, you can order it and they will ship it over from another library. Our programs are fantastic. Each month we have about 7,000 checkout return items from the library, so it's well utilized, it's well used.
Thank you. Mr. Airriess?
Well, number one, my wife uses the library all the time. Our children need the library. They got computers, they got everything there. Our citizens need the library. There's no way the library is going nowhere.
Okay, we just got this library question that goes along. Do you think we should expand the library? And we'll start with Mr. Simon.
When you got a good thing going, as far as education, it's important to look forward in the future. We've got an older library, and there'd be nothing wrong with looking at that as far as making it bigger, making it newer. Education is everything, and without education, we have a lot of stupid people walking around.
Thank you. Mr. Hack?
I'd have no issue at all if we wanted to expand upon the library. My only question would be is how are we going to fund it? That's, I think, the biggest question. I think all of us up here would agree that we love nothing more than a library that's 2-3 stories high and programs all the time and running 24 hours a day. But the reality check sets in, and how are we going to fund it? Is it going to be self-funding? Are we going to bring in a private partner to assist with that? There are many ways we could look at it, and I know that the library has already started down that path of looking at possible ways that they could fund it. However, until we have that package in front of us, it's hard to say, yes, let's do it, other than beyond the point of saying, yeah, I'd like it. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Luebs?
The library, when it was initially built, was designed for a growth spurt to the north of the building. But there are options, and our librarian is proactive in reviewing opportunities. Do they go up? Do they go out? How can the space be utilized inside? Right, the council did approve a 1 mil, so your taxes are supporting the library. That the 1 mil pays about 94% of the library costs. So in order to achieve any enhancement of the library, there would have to be more money, and that is what the library is reviewing right now, is do we want to do this? What's the great need? How would we do that?
Thank you. Mr. Airriess?
I have no problem whatsoever with the library expanding. I do believe if the library looked hard enough, or we looked hard enough, our city manager, we could find a grant for them. We could find something. There's got to be some way for them to raise money and for us to find grants for them to build onto the library. But as far as that, the funding, we're going to have to look real close into that.
Thanks. Mr. Moore?
Well, the spirit is willing. I certainly think I'd like to see the library expanded. But the big question really does come down to funding and how to accomplish that. But yes, I would like to see it expanded.
Okay. We're going to start with Mr. Hack. How do you plan to protect the new 14-mile road from heavy trucks using it to get to I-75?
Well, I'd love nothing more than to post a big no truck sign down at the end of 14 Mile Road. However, the federal funds that we got to fix that road would say otherwise. We do have portable scales, and we have an officer, I believe 2 officers now, that are authorized to use that to be able to pull trucks over, make sure that they're not running overweight. And I'm hoping that that will be enough of a deterrent. However, the big issue we have is where do we pull them over at without blocking traffic. So that's something that we're trying to work through right now. But to make it short of it, we can't shut it down to all trucks. As you'll start to see with some of the phasing with 14 Mile Road down the road, perhaps, again, with the accoutrements that get added onto there, it will help deviate some of that traffic to Maple Road or to 13 Mile Road. But for right now, all we can do is watch for weight. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Luebs?
Years ago, our roads were not built to handle the weight of the trucks. These roads have a higher quality of material that should be able to handle that, along with regular maintenance of our roads. In the past, sometimes when the city has cut areas in the budget, it's been maintenance, sewer maintenance, road maintenance. We have placed a maintenance schedule back into the budget, and we will continue to ensure that that happens. That will maintain the road.
Thank you. Mr. Airriess?
Well, you guys are picking on me because I own a trucking company and we haul steel. So you'll never see an Angel truck go up and down 14 Mile unless it's in a 14 Mile or 4th of July parade. I'll threaten my guys. I do believe they could put some scales out there, some portable scales. Something could be set up. I could even show them how to do it like the rest of some of the cities do. You can make a fortune on it. And that would help a lot. But you won't see an Angel truck on 14 Mile.
Thank you. Mr. Moore?
You know, it's the worst thing in the world to be sitting at the Black Lotus and have one of these semis come whipping by you. It's terrible. They're so close to you. But yeah, you're not going to stop them from coming down there. And I will tell you that about a year and a half ago, I think it was, maybe even 2 years now, I approached the city and asked them about the fact that we had signs on our streets, I live down around Rochester, that said load limit enforced. And so I said, well, I see all these trucks and I know somebody's got to be overloaded. How do you do that? And he said, well, we don't really do it. Since then, they have in fact started training officers to be able to use the scales, and we are going to do some of that weight enforcement, and I think that will help a lot.
Thank you. Mr. Simon?
It's one thing that I've been a stickler on from the beginning, being a retired policeman. We need an officer who is out there constantly doing scale work. Like Mr. Moore just said, it is revenue. I'm not sure how much we are actually out there right now. I'm not sure why we haven't been out there as much as we should be. Checking for equipment violations, checking for old, worn out tires, checking for anything that might be a hazard to our citizens as these trucks are going through our town. It's important, and we need to send a message, and the sooner you start acting, the sooner that everybody gets the picture. And well, we better not go through Clawson. You can't stop them from, this is a free country, you know, it's free streets. Not free, we pay for it, but it's important to send the message out there.
Thank you. We'll start with Ms. Luebs. Would you be willing to allow a cell tower in the city?
Yes, I would. A cell tower would bring additional revenue in. We've looked at cell towers in the past. There was a chance for a cell tower in the park that wouldn't be a detriment to the area so much. After we mulled that over and decided, and I'm talking years ago as a city when that was happening, and approached the cell tower again to come in, the cell tower was no longer interested. They had already placed their towers around in different areas. But I'd be interested in a cell tower for additional revenue.
Thank you. Mr. Airriess?
Well, there you go. There's your library money. Use a cell tower. I have no problem whatsoever, as long as it's not going to be ugly and nasty looking. You know, my next door works off it, it's fine.
Thank you. Mr. Moore?
I would be in agreement. It is a revenue generator, and I guess the only question I have is where would they put it?
Mr. Simon?
I remember when the company talked about coming in, and you know, it's something that, again, would have to be researched in regards to, is there any interference that the thing would cause or whatnot? Is it in a place that's aesthetically, it looks, I don't know, a cell tower is not actually beautiful, I'm sure, but I'm sure you could put it somewhere, and it's revenue.
Thank you. Mr. Hack?
I would have no issue with the concept of a tower, but again, it's going to be where is it going to be located at, how much money is it going to bring in, and what does it look like? I know that we have a lot of cell coverage sitting on top of Clawson Manor right now. We've got all types of antennas and repeaters up there. I guess my bigger question would be, is anyone interested in putting a cell phone tower in town? I haven't heard of any interest in a long time since, I think it's been about 5 years ago, since we had somebody interested in putting one there in the park. So I've got no issue with it other than that. Thank you.
Okay. We'll start with Mr. Airriess. What do you think about issuing more liquor licenses in the downtown?
Well, I don't believe we can do it, and they're all taken up now anyways. I believe the only ones that can do that is the DDA. I think we got more than enough bars in town. I'm happy. That's enough.
Thank you. Mr. Moore?
Well, the DDA can issue, well, the DDA has liquor licenses for the downtown area that could be issued by the city council. We do have a lot of bars in town right now, and I've heard the discussion about the fact that people don't want to see Clawson as just a bar city, and that would be my guess as well. I would not want to see Clawson as a bar city. However, when you're getting started, sometimes those are the businesses that will bring people to your town. And then there's turnover that happens as a result of competition and so on. So,
Thank you. Mr. Simon?
Yeah, I would not be in favor of any more liquor licenses going out. I think we have more than enough bars in our town. I think it's time to really start researching other businesses coming in and making that a stronghold there. We've got plenty of bars.
Thank you. Mr. Hack?
As was stated, the city doesn't have the authority right now to issue any more liquor licenses. The DDA does have that authority through permission of the council, though. I'm kind of on the fence on this, and let me explain why. I certainly don't want to see another bar downtown. However, there are bars and there are liquor license holders. When we take a look at something like Clawson Steakhouse, or we take a look at Royal Kubo, would I consider that a bar? No. They've got it's a family atmosphere. I can go in there, I can order a drink if I wish, but I can also order a meal. I can also order something off the kids' menu if I'd like. So I don't want to simply say, no, we're not going to do it, without taking a look at the actual business that's coming in. Am I in favor of more bars coming in? No, but let's not cut ourselves off from having a nice family establishment coming in as well. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Luebs.
Our liquor license have been allotted for by the city of Clawson, and in the last 12 months the state of Michigan did make an opinion that the DDAs could offer a liquor license, again as an incentive to bring in businesses. I don't want to see a liquor license. I want to follow the state of Michigan rules. I don't want to see it by the churches. I don't want to see it by the schools. And I think it needs to be evaluated on an individual business status. Let's see what's out there. Let's see what somebody wants to do with the liquor license.
Thank you. We're getting a little short of time, so there's a couple general questions here. In your opinion, what is Clawson's best feature, and what do you hope to achieve in office? And we'll start with Mr. Moore.
What is Clawson's best feature? Well, I think it's its small town, neighborly atmosphere that it has. It's a great community to live and grow up in, and there are a lot of people, not just Clawsonites, who recognize that. What was the second part of that?
What do you hope to achieve in office?
Well, what I hope to achieve is I guess I'd go right to my bottom line, and my bottom line is is a quality of life that is second to none. And that's not hard to do, really. It is not a hard thing to do. You just have to work at it a little bit. But we have the ability. We are the best kept secret in Oakland County.
Thank you. Mr. Simon.
Well, the fact that we were a bedroom community for many, many years, I think that's we're kind of getting the balance now. And I'd like to see that balance continue to grow because without business and good business, that tax benefit is not there for us. The second part of the question was, what do I expect to achieve? I expect to achieve putting citizens before the city. Without citizens, you have no city. And it's important that we look at everybody's ideas and take them seriously. Even people that get up and can be a pain sometimes. You know what? They need to be looked at. Sometimes I'm sure they have a good idea too. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Hack.
Well, some of the best attributes for living in Clawson, I think, are the same ones we all share. It's close to everything. I can talk to my neighbors. I can walk down the street and know everybody there. But as far as what sells the city, when you talk to somebody who's coming in here, the biggest thing that we have to sell on is service. City services are the key thing, because who in their right mind is going to spend $200,000 on a 1,000-square-foot house if they're not getting any service to go with it? If I'm going to do that, I'll move north and get twice the house and pay half as much. So obviously our city services are the thing that we need to be doing better, faster, and cheaper than the next guy. As far as what I wish to achieve, continue the rebuilding of our infrastructure. We've started down that road. We need to continue that. We need to institute maintenance programs. We need to be able to keep that promise that we've had to their bondholders. Business development, continue with that. And fiscal policy, we need to get out of this rut, as well as the state, of annual budgets. Let's start looking 4, 5, 6 years out so we can forecast the issues before we have things like government shutdowns and things like that. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Luebs.
The attractions in Clawson are our residential neighborhoods, our parks, our schools, the recreation programs, and the library. Again, all within walking distance of any house in Clawson. As a city, we're focusing on our strengths. We're building on that sense of community, the friendliness, the neighbors. I think each of us has a family member or knows of a friend who has a family member who left Clawson and has returned to Clawson. That's because of the warm hometown feeling each of us has. I'd like to continue with that. Each person is important. Your opinions count. As Tim said, you are the city. So in my field of social work, we work with one person at a time. In the city, we work with one porch at a time. And that's a philosophy I'd like to emanate, that we are important and continue what we have in Clawson. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Airriess.
Well, right now, by the end of the week, I'd say our best feature is 14 Mile Road because you can actually go down the street. Other than that, we've got our 4th of July. Look at the people it brings together. We got the car show. Look at the people. Between them two there's 20,000 people at probably. That's Clawson. That's a small town feeling. Everybody that's at this show says they love it. Clawson's the greatest place in the world because it's just homey. It's just plain homey. I guess that's why I love the city. As far as achievements, I'd like to see maintain the quality of our city services, and I'll encourage to get new business in town. Thank you.
Thank you. We're going to have closing remarks now. We're going to start with the mayoral candidates, and then I'm going to, at the end of the council candidates, I'm going to read the end of Mr. Affeld's statement, so we can get all that in. We're going to start with Ms. Luebs, your 1-minute closing statement.
Thank you. Clawson is a great place to live. I think we just summed up everything pretty nicely here. And I would like to continue to maintain Clawson as a family-friendly neighborhood providing great city services. Our services are the ability to walk into City Hall and talk to someone, to walk into the DPW. We have great trash pickup. We cooperated with other communities to get a better rate, which also increased our budget. Our goals, again, are to guard against surplus spending and live within our budget. I did hear a resident comment that if you have a Buick and you're living on a Buick budget, why do you want to buy the Cadillac? We need to live within our budget. We need to communicate with each other. We need to, Parks and Rec needs to talk to council, council needs to talk to DDA. We need to increase that communication. And the third piece is to attract more businesses to gain business revenue. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Hack.
I'm optimistic of our future and the destination we're building together. As you've heard from the candidates tonight, we all share a love for our city and take pride in our accomplishments. However, the very nature of politics dictates that you must select the candidate that you would best serve Clawson's needs. In that, I'm confident in that in your analysis of the candidates, you'll determine who will best deliver a discernible sense of direction with definable objectives, coordination of multiple city departments and boards towards a common goal, representation to our municipal neighbors and other government bodies, proven fiscal and business acumen, and leadership to the community. I'd like to again express my gratitude to the Chamber as well as the League of Women Voters for their sponsorship of this event. I'd also like to thank all of you for watching at home and here in the audience. I firmly believe that participation and confidence in government is critical for promoting progress throughout all sectors of civic life. Lastly, I'd like to thank my friends and family for their unwavering support throughout the election. Thank you.
Thank you. We'll start with Mr. Simon.
I'd like to start by saying politics is not rocket science. It's common sense. I don't want to be a talking head. I want to be up here and I want to be a servant of the people. Not a king, a servant. If I work as hard in the next 4 years as your council person as I've worked trying to get elected in this town, you'll have a great council person. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Moore.
I would like to thank the League of Women Voters and the Clawson Chamber of Commerce for holding this forum and the audience for attending. I love this city. Let me repeat that. I love this city. I would like an opportunity to use my skills and experience towards maintaining and improving the quality of life here in Clawson. Whatever your decision, please vote on November the 6th. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Airriess.
Well, in closing here, it's like everybody knows, I have been past president of the Clawson JCs. I've been on the 4th of July committee. I've past president of the Clawson Lions, chairman of planning for 10 years. I've been on the traffic and safety. I've done the Main Street car show. Yeah, I love Clawson. I'm involved with Clawson. I can't remember one 4th of July I was not home. So, in closing, if elected to council, I will work hard to maintain the quality of our city services. I will encourage new business to consider Clawson. And remember to vote November 6th. Thank you.
Thank you. This is the end of Mr. Affeld's statement. While I am unable to be there to explain every issue that is facing the city, I can sum it up in the following. I believe in being an American, our country, Clawson, and doing what is best for everyone, not a few. I am a working class person. I am not running for any personal gain. I just want to make Clawson the best that it can be. All I ask is that you vote November 6th for who you believe can lead Clawson to be an even more desirable community. The League of Women Voters is a trusted, nonpartisan political organization. Our members do the hands-on work to safeguard democracy. While we never endorse a candidate, we are directly involved in shaping the important issues to keep our community strong. As a League of Women Voters member, I have the opportunity to contribute in a leadership role that has great impact on local, state, and even national issues. If you are interested in becoming a member, visit our website at LWVOA.org, and we have some membership information out in the back of the room. Again, our organization does not support or oppose any political party or candidate. We would like to thank the audience and the candidates, and Comcast and WOW, cable companies, and the Clawson Chamber of Commerce for their participation. For rebroadcast of this forum, Comcast is channel 60 and WOW is channel 10. Remember, you're voting for mayor 1, and for council there are 4 people running and you're voting for 2. For further information on the candidates, we have a voter guide, and there's some printed here in the back. You can also go online at www.lwvoa.org. Remember to vote on Tuesday, November 6th, and thank you very much.